Imagine yourself entering a classroom when the bell has rung, indicating recess is over. You're standing at the door, and all you see is a chaotic classroom. Paper planes flying, a bunch of girls scribbling on the board. Some of them are still munching their lunch, backbenchers jeering and snorting. You've got two options at your disposal. A, you can either shout at the top of your lungs, scoff and scold each pupil to get back to their respective places, or B, maintain such a structured classroom that has an aura. As soon as the bell rings, the entire classroom falls back into their respective positions. This is where effective classroom management seeps in. Assalamu alaikum, everybody. My name is Ramsha Mujib, and today I will be presenting on how to manage classrooms effectively. So the first thing we are going to begin is, what exactly do we mean by classroom management? Classroom management does not only refers to a setting, a physical setting. However, it goes ahead with ensuring a climate in which the students' learning is augmented. The students grow not only physically, they grow mentally, they grow emotionally, they grow cognitively, and it is reflected by way of their positive behavior. Previously, classroom management has been associated with only maintaining discipline. However, times have changed, and now it not only refers to teachers responding to only problematic behavior. However, it now covers a wide range of tasks beyond problematic management of behavior of students. So it's not only order for order's sake, but order for the sake of learning. So what exactly is a classroom? Is it only a physical setting of four walls whereby students are there and the teacher is there giving his or her own lecture? No. It's a learning space. It's where the teacher imparts his or her knowledge and pupils learn. It's a place where teacher focuses on cultivating relationships. It's an atmosphere where the teacher ensures and that there is a conducive learning environment. The teacher focuses on building and maintaining positive relationships around the parent community and with the students as well. The reason is that we want to grow, we want to bloom together. The key term in this presentation is effectiveness. So what exactly is effectiveness? And why effectiveness? And how can we gauge effectiveness? Classroom management, all right, if the teacher goes ahead and finishes the syllabus or goes ahead and finishes his or her agenda, is that all classroom management means? No. Classroom management means you need to manage your classroom effectively. And how will that be possible? We're going to see that in this slide. So the first aspect of effectiveness means we want to have increased academic engagement with minimum disruption. That means we want maximum learning with minimum disturbances. We want highly augmented learning. We want a learning in which the students thrive. However, there's least amount of disturbances. The classroom environment is structured in such a sense, everything out there physically is labeled. The students know about the rules. They know how to go about things. For instance, if a certain student needs to go to the washroom, he or she will not disturb the lecture of the teacher. He or she knows he just has to, for instance, pick up the cart from the basket and go ahead without disturbing the teacher's lecture. The second part is we need to find ways to make the most challenging student your favorite. You see, not every child can learn on the same day or in the same way. So, in my opinion, your success as a teacher would be when the student who's a backbencher or the one who's least interested in class or doesn't turn up with his assignments, who does not participate in the activities. Now it's your job to bring the most challenging student out there. How? By making sure that your lecture is so interesting, or you make such an effort that he is participating, he shows up eagerly. It's reflected by way of his interaction, the way he responds to the questions, the way he turns in his homework. He's punctual. He displays interest. He actively participates. So there's an improvement in his behavior, and therefore you can see the progress then. You are going to extract the true potential of your students in this way. The third and the most important is you need to build positive relationships. There has to be a student-teacher bond. You need to have meaningful relationships with your students in order to ensure that there exists a productive learning environment, that there is a high level of interaction in the class. The students are at their feet, whatever activities you are there, whatever new approaches you have in teaching or new experimentation is there, a new concept is there, the students are eager to learn, they positively respond to it, they participate in it, it's student-centered. Your activities are designed, are flexible in such a way that you ensure that they are built around the strengths and the weaknesses of the student. And the students know that they can ask this teacher whatever questions they have. They feel free to ask him or her without the fear of being reprimanded, without the fear of being wrong, or without the fear of being scolded. If the student does not have the fear that he or she does not grasp a concept the first time, the teacher would be willingly helping him to make him understand the concept, even if the bell has rung and the period is over. He or she is there to facilitate him in any means, in any ways possible. This is how your students are going to grow. Voicing the students while you being the leader means that you know that you are the one who has the steering of your class. You are the one who's driving the class. However, you are not only hearing them, you are listening them. It means that, again, your activities are student-centered, your learning patterns are flexible, you have designed your activities, your methodologies of teaching, your learning lessons as per the age of your class, as per the interest of your class, and you know what mood your class is in. For instance, you need to be flexible in your lesson plans. So you need to put forward the likes and the dislikes of your student. You need to see what they want, and then you need to, because it's extremely essential. If you want the learning of your students, you need to be flexible. Yes, you need to be there with the agenda of your lesson, but then you need to design your activities in such a way that the interest of the class is ensured. This is actually called learning with fun, learning with involvement. Reflective listening is again then when you are contemplating, you're assessing how effective your learning methodology has been, and if you are critically analyzing if there exists a need for any improvement, because there's always a need for improvement. We as teachers are actually learning each day. We learn with our students as well. So I would say teachers are not teachers, teachers are even learners. We learn with each day, even though if you're teaching the same subject, or if you're teaching the same, let's say for instance, if you're teaching the same chapter to two different sections, you see each class, each section, each child has a different learning pattern, and we learn. Each second, each time we are imparting any new concept, we as teachers learn. And there always exists a different way, even a better way. The last and the most important is maintaining the right balance between warmth and managing boundaries. Now, this is a little technical. Technical in the sense that, yes, you need to tell your students that, yes, I'm there for you. I'm there to listen to you. I'm your mentor, I'm your guide, I'm your counselor. But then you need to tell them the acceptable behavior. You need to ensure their self-discipline. You need to tell them that there exists an accountability on their part, if any signs of misbehavior is seen. You need to tell them that yes, they need to respect and they need to behave in their respective boundaries. However, you are there. You need to unconditionally love your students. You are there, but then you need to maintain that discipline, that boundary, in order to ensure that yes, learning is there within the boundaries of discipline. This is an extremely interesting slide. In this slide, I am going to talk about the Finlands model. Now, the Finlands model is actually, Finnish system is one of the best systems in the world. The reason is that they say that we prepare kids for life. They are always looking for ways to improve upon their education system. They have given the authority to their teachers to go ahead and do whatever it takes to ensure that your students are progressing. So they have given the discretion to their teachers to go ahead to ensure that, yes, the students are thriving. They say whatever it takes. There are 62,000 educators across 3,500 schools in Finland, and they thrive on equality. They say it doesn't matter whether the student is living in a rural area or whether it's he or she is living in an urban area. Equality and access to quality education is a must, is a right for all. The schools are owned by the state. The schools are not owned by any bureaucrat or any political party out there, or not are privately run. They are state run. They are small schools, which means that each teacher knows about each student and each student knows about his or her teacher. If any one method fails, the teacher is consulting with other colleagues and trying to find out any better way to go ahead with the teaching plan. So they are basically relishing challenges. There are no ranks, no comparisons between students of the same class or the students of the same age or the students of the same school or even among schools. Teachers spend less time in class and they spend more time outside class, looking at the curriculum, thinking about ways, coming up with strategies to further improve upon them, assessing the progress of the students. The students are given minimal homework, and the students spend more time in playing. As far as teachers are concerned, they select top 10% of the graduates, and the teachers are expected to have a master's degree in education. This is where quality seeps in. So there's no compromise as far as the quality of the teachers is concerned. The teachers are all professionals. And the teachers then actively contribute towards the national curriculum and they provide the guidelines. That means they are providing their valuable inputs, what should be there, what should not be there, the do's and the don'ts. So they are helping the government, the state to go ahead with the national curriculum. So that's not only merely a prescription, they are actively participating and putting in their opinions. This is what actually makes the Finland's model exemplary. So I guess we all have lots of things to learn from the Finnish model. And we, not as a state, at least as an individual school or on a school basis, we can actually take out the positives from this model and implement it, at least begin from our school level. All right. Now, this slide concerns about the ingredients of a perfect classroom. You see, perfection is not is an elusive term. Perfection is an elusive term. Classroom is an epicenter of teacher and learning. The four walls of classroom encapsulate teacher-student learning. It's about life-changing interactions between the teacher and the students. So these are a six set of ingredients which I found that are vital in order to ensure that there exists a perfect classroom. So the first and the foremost is the classroom has to be structured. There has to be written rules. The students they have to know that there's a code of conduct. The classrooms are organized physically and the codes of conduct are imparted to the students. They know about the rules and the regulations. They know about how to go ahead without disturbing the lesson of the class. They know how to behave. Everything is lined up. They know if they have to turn in their assignments. They know the first thing is, for instance, you've told them they need to put their assignments on their respective place or on their tables on the right side of the table. They know when to turn in their assignment. They know when to ask questions from the teacher. They know how to go ahead. It's a safe haven means that, yes, the students are comfortable. They know it's a learning center. It's a learning place for them. They can ask the teacher whenever they feel like, whatever they feel like. They can go ahead, discuss their problem. The teacher is not only a content provider. The teacher is their guide. The teacher is their mentor. The teacher is their motivator. And they do not have any fear of being told that, no, you are wrong. No, you cannot go ahead with asking questions. They know they can ask multiple of times as far as the concept is not clear. It's a learning zone. Yes, we and teachers and students both are learning. Yes, every child has a different way or a pace of learning. But yes, we are ensuring that every child is important. Every child needs to progress. And we as teachers can go ahead with doing any effort we can in order to ensure that each child is learning. Again, we need to ensure the fourth and the foremost that our classrooms are student-centered. Again, we've devised strategies, we've devised our lesson plans, we have set up our activities in such a way that they all are student-centered. We've ensured that the strengths and the weaknesses and the likes and the dislikes of our students are maintained, and that activities are designed in such a way that the students enjoy, actively participate, and they look forward to what the teacher today has brought up for them. Collaboration means that, yes, the teachers and with the parent community, we and the teacher with the admin, we all together are going to look forward because it's a collaborative success. You see, we have a collective goal. We need to ensure learning. We need to ensure success at all levels. And that's not only being possible from the teacher's part. There has to be collaboration with the students. There has to be collaborations with the parent community. And there has to be collaboration with the admin, with the schools, with the lead heads, with the coordinators, and together we'll thrive. Valuing differences means, yes, the teacher knows that the students come from different linguistic backgrounds, different socio-economic, cultural backgrounds, and yes, we accept differences. We accept differences, and we know that every child is unique, that every child is special, and every child is equal. All right. This is extremely important. Now, the reason why I've chosen the design of this slide is that my stance or my argument or the point I'm trying to make in this presentation is that the teacher's part and the school's responsibility has to go hand in hand if you want to ensure effectiveness. It's like two parts of the puzzle. You see, the teacher has to play his or her part, and the school also has to play his or her responsibility. It's only then we are going to progress. So the teacher has to play his or her part, and the school has to play his or her responsibility. And when these two pieces of the puzzle are going to combine, then only we will ensure effectiveness. So the teacher has to play a different role. The teacher has to ensure that there is skill development, that there is teachers training. And in order to ensure that the teacher goes ahead with his or her skills, and in order to ensure that the teacher has sufficient training, the school has to play his responsibility. Now, what will the school do? The school will ensure that there exists a learning atmosphere, there exists a learning environment in which the teachers learn, and the environment is such that we thrive. We as teachers thrive. We as teachers learn, and then we ensure that, yes, our classrooms are being managed effectively. So, what are the roles the teacher has to provide? You see, long time back were the days where teacher was supposed to be only the content provider. Now a teacher has to exhibit different roles. The teacher is not only concerned with, okay, I'm only responsible for finishing the syllabus. I'm only responsible for making sure I've covered certain chapters before my exams are there. No, the teacher is not only responsible for just imparting knowledge, finishing the chapter, delivering the concepts out there. No, the teacher has to be a guide. The teacher has to be a motivator. The teacher has to be a mentor. He or she is there to encourage the students, to give them a pat on their back on their progress, on their improvement, on any good behavior, on any positives. However, they need to buck them up. They need to be there for them on their days on which they are dull, on when they are not performing. They need to tell them, okay, maybe today is not your day, but tomorrow will definitely be your day. Let's look at these things in another way. There must be another way for learning. The teacher is out there to support them, to help them, to reach out to them in any way possible. So the teacher has to be a role model. The way you display yourself, the students are going to look upon you. They look upon you as somebody whom they respect, whom they follow. So your behavior, the way you display your character, your pose, position is extremely vital. So you are not only responsible for planning out, for chalking out your lesson plans, the strategies, how to go ahead with your subject. You're there to counsel them, to solve their problems, even if they're having any problems out there back at home. You're there to listen to them, you need to show empathy. You need to be out there for them in any way possible. Now, there are certain skills that a teacher needs to have. Now, there are two schools of thought. We've got Robert Manzano and we've got Doug Limov. First, we've got Robert Manzano. Robert Manzano has laid down these 9 general instructional categories and 34 specific behavior. And he has organized these strategies into a framework of effective instructional design. These, he says, are extremely important for the teachers and the administrators, and they both can benefit for them, and they both can learn from these teaching strategies. You see, we as teachers, we all have the same goal. And what is that? We need to ensure that our students are learning. So it's on us to give our students the tools to be successful, not only in class, but beyond that. Robert Manzano is basically a leading educational researcher, and he has authored and co-authored 40 books and around 150 articles. And he is deemed to be a model for teaching effectiveness that many educators today now refer to during their practice. Manzano believes that good, effective teachers seek goals, provide feedback, help students interact with new knowledge, provide students with simulations, they engage their students, they allow them to talk, and they notice when their students aren't engaged. And how do they do this? They do this by establishing and maintaining classroom rules. They communicate high expectations. They encourage students to participate in different activities and different games, and then show that the entire class is learning. Everybody out there is there on their feet. And they believe, he is of the opinion that the more the teachers believe, that the more the teachers are connected with the students, and they've connected their lessons and they've built them around the real world situations, the more effective will be. He is of the opinion that you need to identify first students with low expectations. Then you need to identify students with similarities. And then you need to identify different treatment for low expectation students, and finally make a conscious decision to treat all the students the same. Finally, he says the teachers should identify areas for improvement throughout the year. So it's not only a one-time situation. You need to be on your feet throughout the year, bring in improvement in your lesson plans, in your strategies. And it's the responsibility of the admins, it's the responsibility of the school, of the lead heads, of the subject heads, to provide them with the opportunities to not only implement, but to observe their learning styles, observe their classes, observe their learning strategies, and to see if there exists a need for further improvement, to critically evaluate and provide them with their respective feedback. Doug Limov has provided us with 49 essential techniques, which can be mastered one at a time. And these techniques work in synergy to ensure effective teaching. Many schools today are using these strategies and techniques and are basing them as a part of their learning plans. Doug Limov has listed these 49 techniques, and these have been sorted in these 7 headings. And he is of the opinion that good teaching can be learned. And he says that these techniques are extremely vital, and they have been fruitful, and these are tried and tested, and they enable to handle the toughest classrooms, one of the toughest classrooms of the world. So he has listed these techniques in his book, Teach Like a Champion. And it's an excellent resource. It also provides recommendations for improving instructional delivery. For instance, under the first heading, which says setting high academic expectations, the teacher can go ahead with this technique. For instance, right is right. All right, if the students ask, if you've asked a particular question and if the student is providing his or her feedback, so you can say that, yes, go ahead, but give me a complete statement. Or if a student is not able to elaborate, so you would go ahead and say, go ahead and stretch upon it. Or you can say format matters would also fall under this category. For instance, if you're going about writing a letter, so you need to tell the students that, yes, we are writing an informal letter, but there has to be a certain format you need to abide by. Then no apologies would also come under setting high academic expectations, which means that, all right, I'm there to teach you letter writing today, but I'm going to go ahead on board. And for instance, I'm going to say, no, I'm not going to apologize that, okay, I'm sorry, I'm going to teach you I'm going to teach you letter writing today. No, I'm not going to apologize. I'm going to say, yes, today we are going to learn letter writing. And if we are unable to do any question, we'll say, oh, go ahead and we do it again. The second strategy says planning to ensure academic achievement. Planning to ensure academic achievement, which means we will be more focused. For instance, the first strategy would be beginning with the end. We are focusing more on the outcome rather than we are focusing on the end. Then the 4 M's of planning would also fall into this category, which means we need to ensure that our planning is manageable, it's measurable, it's made first, and it's most important. That means we are going to prioritize. We are going to make sure first things first, and we are going to make sure whatever agenda we have, it's manageable and we can measure the progress of any activity. Post-it means would also fall under this category. For instance, if we are planning, we need to list it down. All right, you need to tell students what they are expected, what are going to be learned today, and these are the objectives of my lesson plan today. Then you need to also double plan. For instance, if your students are doing the activity, what you as a teacher would be doing at that particular time. Structuring and delivering your lesson is again very important. How would you go about with imparting your lesson? Are you going to begin with a hook? Or are you going to break it down into further steps? Or are you going to break it down into further chunks? Or you're going to write the entire lesson on the board and you're going to post it on the board and then you're going to ask your students to copy it down? Or you are going to take a stand and you're going to ask students for their opinions? It depends entirely up to your discretion. Engaging students in your lesson is the 4th heading. It's now how you're going to involve your students, how you're going to ask them questions is important. Are you going to give them a cold call? That is, you're going to ask students who is least expected to be questioned, or you're going to call and respond them according to the alphabetical order, or you're going to pepper quickly, you're just going to question, keep on asking anybody randomly, keeping on their toes, or you're going to wait, or you're going to wait till everybody writes. So it again depends upon how you engage your students. Creating a strong classroom culture is the 5th heading. It depends upon how you're going to greet your students once they enter your class. Then SLANT is an acronym that falls under this heading. That means the students are expected to, S means sit up, L means listen, A means ask questions, N means nod, and T means track the speaker. So there has to be a positive body language. The students have to be attentive, they have to be active, they have to be productive listeners. Seat signals would also fall under this. The students need to know where is their seating arrangement, what rules are there to borrow pencils, for instance, or stationery, or to go ahead with drinking water. All right, the 6th one is building and maintaining high behavioral expectations. Yes, we as teachers need to ensure that we as teachers need to give in their 100% and a student needs to be there. But then we need to tell our students what is expected of them. We need to give them, before any behavior becomes problematic, we need to tell them, give them a warning that what is expected and what is not expected, how we are going to meet them at the door. Are we going to give them a high five? Are we going to give them a smile? Building character and trust is, again, you need to ensure that, yes, I am there, I am your guide, I am your mentor, but you need to ensure that the students trust you, your joy factor is there, we are learning, but making mistakes is again okay. Maybe tomorrow is not your day, but then tomorrow maybe you can understand the chapter better, or let's look at things in a bit better way, in this way. Making mistakes is okay. It's okay not to be okay. And you're going to make sure you're going to explain your things properly. You're building character and trust to ensuring that there is an active engagement of your class. So you're going to be warm yet strict at the same time. Now, once you've sorted the skills and the techniques you as a teacher need, then you need to go ahead with devising an action plan. You need to make sure that whatever skills or techniques you've identified that you as a teacher would need to learn or go ahead with, you need to ensure that whatever you've listed it down, your plan is practical, it's action-oriented, it's bite-sized, and allocated time. And that means whatever techniques or strategies you need to go ahead with, you need a certain teacher's training, or you need to attend a particular session or workshops. You've broken down your objectives into bite-sized learning plan. That is, you've further broken it down into chunks so that it's not daunting for you. You know how much time would you as a teacher be needing to learn those strategies and then implement them in your class, and then see to how effective they have been to meet those objectives you intended to achieve by acquiring those skills. You see, you had an objective in acquiring those skills. You had a particular reason why you wanted to go ahead with learning those techniques. So once you are equipped with those teaching strategies, you're going to implement it into your class, and then you're going to see the results. And then you're going to match with your desired expectations. Are they fitting in? Are they yielding you the entire amount of satisfaction and the result you intended to achieve, or exists a room for further improvement? Now comes the school part. The school needs to ensure that there is professional learning. So professional learning is not only associated with the formal and the informal learning experiences taken by the teachers, but it refers to the learning experiences taken by the school leaders as well. That not only improves the professional practice of the teachers, however, it ensures the effectiveness of the school as well. And how would you ensure that there is learning? How would you ensure that, yes, there exists effectiveness? You can see it by way of student engagement. You can see it by way of the learning of the students. Now, there are certain elements of professional learning. Professional learning ensures that the classroom ideas are concrete, and you will observe, reflect, and critique on your ideas. There exists a group support and collaboration, and evaluation, feedback by skilled professionals and experts are there. So now whatever plans you have devised, whatever strategies or learning techniques you have identified that you as a teacher would be requiring, you need to make sure that your classroom ideas are practical. And once you've implemented, they are being observed by the experts, and they would provide you with their valuable feedback. And you as a teacher would not only be responsible for fulfilling those objectives, you will work as a team, as a group, in order to ensure that the learning experiences and activities are effective. So it's not only concerned with the learning or the activities of you as an individual, but as a group of teachers, as the progress of the school. Now the argument comes in that traditionally also there used to be professional learning. Now, what difference there exists in professional learning of contemporary times? How is learning of contemporary times different than traditional learning? You see, initially, learning was only supposed to be an isolated event where the teachers used to go to attending an external conference or a workshop, and they used to come with their educational knowledge, and it's only an individual pursuit. A particular teacher was only eager to learn a particular technique or a learning strategy in order to see his or her progress, or in order to implement it in his or her class. And the lesson plans and all the activities, all the plans were linked to generic goals. They were not linked to specific goals, measurable goals. and they were only centered around the performance of that particular class or linkage to that performance of that particular teacher. But now times have changed, and professional learning or learning actually would be if it's a routine practice within a school. So that means it's not only a one-time practice, it has to be an integrated effort. It has to be promoted by the teaching experts in class with teachers. And once you have mastered that teaching strategy, it has to be implemented not only at the individual level, but at the entire school level. So there has to be a learning of the school together. There has to be collective learning. So, and then you need to integrate them in the learning plans of the entire school. So it has to be centered or structured around the entire activities of the entire school. And how would you go that? By promoting your skilled teachers. So this is where the change will begin then. And this is where the seeds of effective teaching and the seeds of effective learning are sowed. So what do teachers do in a professional learning culture? The teachers would go ahead with acquiring new knowledge and skills. Again, Robert Manzano or Doug Limo. You'll put them into practice. You'll implement them at your class level. You'll refine through self-reflection and feedback. You'll see to what extent they are successful, to what extent they are reaping in the benefits you intended to achieve. You'll critically observe, analyze, reflect, contemplate, and see, ask for feedback from the experts, or you will evaluate yourself. Once you are thorough on those, you'll share it with others, with your peers, with the other classroom teachers by way of presentations, demos, or workshops. You'll see how others are putting it into practice. You speak to them, critically observe, analyze, suggest ways for improvement. And then you'll provide them with your valuable feedback, and this is how you refine others' practice. So once it's put into practice, what benefits would the learning culture bring in? It means you're deprivatizing the culture of professional learning. Previously, it was only centered around the progress of a particular teacher. It was related to the performance of a particular teacher, centered around that particular section or that particular level, that particular grade. But now you have deprivatized it. It's not teacher-centered, it's school-centered. We are looking at the progress of the entire school. We're looking at the learning of the entire collaboration of the entire school, all the students. We are looking at the collective interests and not the individual interest. So what would it result in? It will result in increased staff interaction. It will improve the trust among the teachers, and you would establish an aura of learning. You would thrive on learning. We'll all look forward. The teachers will actively participate. There will be an increased interest, increased trust among teachers. So now the school has to play his part. What will the school do? The school needs to do in things at 4 levels. What will the school do? The school needs to provide in the facilities. The school needs to provide in the resources. The school needs to provide the structure, and the school needs to provide the strategies. By way of facilities, which means that the school needs to provide a demonstration area or a meeting room where the teams could meet and discuss what lesson plans, what strategies, what workshops, what techniques does the teacher wish to acquire, and what plans do they have. By resources, which means that school needs to provide a well-stocked library that's equipped with latest professional reading. They need to provide them support groups. They need to provide them with engaging classroom coaches. They need to provide them with demonstrating teachers who will work ahead with teachers and guide them. The school would provide the structure, would provide them first with blocks of free time where teachers would work together in groups. And the meeting time is actually not only a meeting time where they would go and chit-chat, but yet it would be a time where there would be, in short, professional learning. It would be a professional learning time. The teachers would play their roles effectively. They will be responsible for assisting other staff so that they improve upon their teaching competence. Finally, strategies. By strategy means, firstly, you need to pick a leader from the school. You need to select a leader who's significant. and he's there on the school's leadership team, and you will group together teachers with the same need, and then those teachers who have the same need will be working together, sharing their knowledge and skills, and they will be responsible for spreading good practice. So the learning teams would set their goals, and they will review their progress towards improvement. They will review their progress, reflect, and further improve. So this is how learning would go ahead. Now we come towards the end. That's the conclusion. So the first conclusion is that once we've ensured that yes, there exists a learning environment, there exists a learning culture, so we would ensure that yes, there exists effective learning. So the idea or the crux of my presentation was that we want to ensure that professional learning goes hand in hand with effective teaching. Unless there is an aura, unless there is an environment of learning, effective teaching, effective learning would not take into place. So you need to pick out any 3 to 4 specific teaching strategies that the whole school has identified, and then we are going to put it into our plans. We are going to promote it to ensure that there's improved learning, and we have implemented it over a relevant time period. Bite-sized learning tasks means, again, like I said earlier, whatever techniques or the teaching strategies you've identified that your teachers would be requiring, or you as a school need to implement at your school level, you've broken them down into chunks. You have broken them down into smaller segments, into smaller parts. Now, why you've done that? Because then it would not be time consuming for your teachers to learn. It would not be too difficult to be implemented. And if a certain strategy or a learning style is not effective, so there is always a room, there's always a time period for improvement. They could be renewed if not workable. Again, these learning tasks and strategies, like I said earlier, Robert Manzano or Doug Limo, the most prominent in promoting student achievement. Bite-sized learning plans, again, you've broken them down into smaller bits. Again, your plans are practical, they're action-oriented, and they have a specific time frame. You know till when you can acquire and when would you be putting them into your action plan, when would be a part of your classroom, and when would they start in bringing in the results you intended to achieve. So the structure is there, you've devised up the strategies, the tried and the tested strategies would then be adopted at the school level and would then become the part of your school. So you are making them the best practice. The common practice is now the best practice. It's a part of your school now. It's a part of your school now. These tried and tested strategies are now to be adopted at the school level and integrated as a part of the school, thereby optimizing effectiveness. It will result in engaging classroom. Obviously, when the lesson plans are student-centered, when you ensure the joy factor, when you ensure that your classrooms are interactive, the students are going to thrive. There has to be an exemplary learning. You can feel it. You can see it with your eyes. No squirreling away and squandering of teachers. This means that, again, you are not only concerned that you are not investing in a particular teacher, you are investing in the talent of your school. You are investing in your students. It's not only a one-time event. There has to be a regime of such workshop. There has to be a regime of such learning patterns. It has to be a part of a school's policy. It has to be an ongoing process, continuous process in which you need to measure, you need to keep a tab on your progress, and you're not concerned with the particular performance or the progress of your particular teacher, but you are concerned with the progress or the collective interest or the collective success of the entire school. So you are not, again, teacher-centered, we are school-centered. And we are not going to link it with the performance of the individual teacher, we are going to link it with the performance of a school. Continuous investment in professional capital for a better future. We are not investing. If we are asking, we are establishing an aura of learning. If we are making a learning culture in our school, or if we are investing or providing our teachers with that learning atmosphere, we're ensuring classroom management, we are not actually yes, we are investing in our human capital, but why? Because we've got the future of this world in our classroom. We are investing for a secure and a better future. After all, these students in our class are Mother Teresa's. These are Jack Ma's. We have got Einstein's. So it's on our discretion how well versed we are, what effective strategies, what effective methodologies, what effective strategies we have adopted, and how concerned we are in order to ensure a promising future. So investment today would mean a better, thriving, secure, promising future for tomorrow, because these students are the future leaders of the world. So if you want to ensure effective classroom management, we as schools need to play our part, provide the learning culture, provide the learning atmosphere in order to ensure that, yes, there is effective classroom management. Even though you might be an expert in your subject, you might be an excellent content provider, you might have tons of teaching expertise, but if doesn't exist an aura, there doesn't exist a learning atmosphere, there would be classroom management, but it won't be effective classroom management. That's it from my part. And that brings towards the end of the presentation. Thank you so much for your valuable time. Thank you so much for being a lovely audience.